And welcome everybody to State of the Onion, Series 4, Episode 5. Thank you very much. I'm joined by Fabio, L,
Hello.
Screw Plato, it's fucking 2025, and Cerberus. Thank you very much everybody for being here. I'm just gonna pass it straight over to Fabio.
Hey, the reseller. It's Pino.
I said L, yeah.
Oh, okay.
You did.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, that's it. That's the task today. And I'm going to pass it over to somebody. I don't fucking care who it is now.
Fabio, talk.
Okay.
There you
So, yeah. So Simon's told me the topic of this evening, which I know shit. And so I decided to cook instead. And this is what's actually cooking in my kitchen right now. And it's a tomato sauce. And I thought to myself, okay, what can this sort of tomato sauce can tell me about Platonism? Well, I would say there are some similarities, and I present to you my thoughts about that. So basically, what I thought is that, Platonism and Pomarola, which is the name of the sauce, tomato sauce, there is something which ties them. They're both about the essence behind the appearance. Platonism, if I'm correct, argues that every object in a world, a tomato, a tree, painting, a photograph, a motorcycle, is just a flow, temporary shadow of its perfect essence. So it's the form of the idea. Basically, the tomato you eat is a shadow. The true tomato-ness exists in a realm of perfect form. Pomarola is the practical, edible version of this idea. It is an attempt to capture the pure essence of the tomato, its deepest, most concentrated flavor and soul, and preserve it, eventually in a can or something. It is not a whole tomato. It's not the shadow. It is the distilled idea of a tomato itself. You don't eat Pomarola. You use it. You use its essence to give truth and depth to the shadowy imitation in your pot. So basically, I would say that somebody preparing Pomarola is like a philosopher using dialectic. They're both using a tool, a concentrate, a line of reasoning, to move beyond the imperfect world of appearances, fresh but variable tomatoes, confused opinions, and get closer to a perfect universal truth, the ultimate sauce, or the form of the good. Please discuss.
Oh, that was way nicer than how I describe it.
Okay.
I would just say you have images and pictures and symbols and all that good stuff. We call those forms, and they're magic, and they exist in a magical alternate universe where there's no causality or time, and even though there's no causality, we somehow know about them because magic.
Well, I mean, you could say that Platonism is the Pomarola for the mind. It takes messy reality and boils down to pure essence.
Right, but what about the problem of existence that isn't the same as we're encountering at the moment? I mean, what he's talking about, what Platonism is a reference to our universe as it is, time-space dimensions. What happens if there's no time-space dimensions to Platonism?
What? Nothing, because they exist without time. They're non-temporal, right? It's not like it might have been hidden in Fabio's wood choice, right? But the question was when Plato was looking at everything, he's like, that tree looks like that, and that tree looks like this, and this other tree looks a little weird, like it's half dead. How do we know that they're all trees? It's because there's an image of a perfect tree. There's a thing that is treeness
Yeah.
somewhere that we identify with. That's where it comes.
I mean, I agree. I understand, it's the problem of, trying to find what is the real essence of whatever you see. I mean, it's all, what we see is the messy part of an idea which is behind. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I know shit from Shinola about Platonism, right? But that would be my understanding.
Yeah, no, you were on the nose.
Yeah.
I was just wanting to be insulting and calling it all magic because that's
Yeah.
more or
Yeah,
less
yeah.
what it is.
Well, I mean, I can actually do better because getting back to what is literally cooking right now in my kitchen, and I hope that by when we finish it, be in a good state, in a state good enough. So here's the funny thing, I'm preparing that sauce, but actually, I'm not preparing that for the sauce. What I have to get out of it, once the sauce is ready, I'm going to put it in a colander and get the water, just the water out of it. And then the water will be later reduced for about a couple of hours until it gets, something really creamy, the consistency of something really sticky. That is pure tomato essence. That is
Yes.
pure umami.
Yeah.
So that would be what Plato would define, as the idea of the tomato. I mean, that is the flavor. That is what makes a tomato tomato. So that would be it. But what I was thinking is that all this process, I mean, it requires so much work that my immediate feeling is, fuck me. I mean, is it really worth it?
Yeah. I don't know. This, some people would go back in time and kill Hitler, right? I would go back in time to Plato, bring a thing of lasagna, right? Sit it down in front of him and ask him if he thought that was spaghetti flavored cake.
Okay, that's fair enough. So you're saying that that Plato basically damaged the old Western philosophy ideas, ever since he came.
Well, I mean, like all philosophers of their time, there's a direction we need to go, right? And they throw us that direction, but as they throw us that direction, they throw us a little to the left, a little to the right, and then we have to deal with that later. Right. So
Yeah.
he helped us, but then he also made more work.
Well, I mean, the way you put it, I kind of agree with you. It seems to me that it's the guy which throw the stone and then said, "Oh, it wasn't me." Just deal with the consequences.
Yes, he was an interesting character, to say the least. I'll just say, I guess I'll just say, philosophy was the last subject that he tried because he just wanted to be famous. So I think of him very much like, yeah. So first,
Okay.
yeah. First he tried poetry,
Mm-hmm.
and he didn't win any medals doing that. Then he tried wrestling. Famously tried wrestling. Plato means broad-shouldered or something like that. And then thirdly, he tried philosophy. So eventually, he got famous at doing something. But I do think of him like a modern day. I don't know who's famous these days. A
Oh,
modern day
I gotta say,
podcaster.
oh,
You go.
no, I thought you were gonna say a modern day Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, brilliant. Modern day Jordan Peterson without the drugs. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Okay. Welcome, Lyrics. Please join. Link is pinned. You'd be very welcome to join. So yeah, interesting character. I think he did get a bronze medal in one of the games reading his poetry. But so So it was a semi good thing, but it always made me. He was from a backwards part of Greece, I think. Stagira was where he was born. Oh, there we go. Anyway, a bit of history for you.
Yeah.
That's all I bloody know. So yeah, I mean the brilliant thing about Platonism, of course, is that it explains like a part of reality or a part of conceptual thought and brings it in line with reality, which we use, right? So something like the mathematical forms in geometry. I think that's the famous example, isn't it? Because that's the one he used, and he posited that these forms must exist: the perfect circle, the perfect square. What are the others? Hexagon. Anybody
What?
else know the others?
What?
No.
So what? Why do they must exist?
Well, because
and more importantly, where do they exist?
exactly. That is the question. That's what Plato put his name to, isn't it? Let's face it. So they must exist because we use them to create reality ourselves. To manipulate reality. Let's not say create. To manipulate reality. We use them. Get your ass in here, lyrics. We need you. I'm on duty. Okay. That lyric says he's on duty. Platonic forms are real, I believe. Good. In the ideal. There's always a but with Platonism.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's it, because they help us manipulate reality. The idea of perfect forms we couldn't do without. So triangles, a good example.
Well, I mean, I don't want to make Serb work here, but I mean, in reality, we use the circles and the triangles that we can work with.
Yeah.
Which are not the perfect ones that he's referring to, if I'm not mistaken. So again, I don't understand why they must exist.
But they are the perfect ones.
Sorry?
They are the perfect ones that we use to manipulate reality.
How can you manipulate reality?
Well, in his day, of course, it would have been the theodolite, right?
No, but okay, what I'm saying...
That's not manipulating reality. Manipulating reality sounds a bit moronic. If you're part of reality and you're doing something to reality, how are you manipulating reality? You're just being reality.
Right, but like something like the pyramid, for instance.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right, how are you going to build that without a plumb line and knowing a right angle?
No, okay. So I realized maybe I didn't express myself clearly. What I'm saying is that we manipulate reality with the forms that we are able to express in reality, right? I mean, so the circle that we're using, to make stuff, it will never be the perfect circle that he is referring to. Okay.
Sure.
So saying that they exist because we use them to manipulate reality, I mean, I think it's a bit of a stretch. I mean, there are forms that they exist because we manipulate reality with them, but they're not the ones you're referring to. So, and that gets back to my question. I mean, why the perfect circle has to exist? That would be my say. I mean, sorry, and then I understand that depending on the area we're talking about, the scope you're talking about, those ideas they do exist. Okay, like I mean, if we're talking about mathematics, yeah, sure. I mean, they exist. Okay, because we just say that the circle is pi, and we don't assign a value to pi. But when we get it, but they do not transform reality. The one which transform reality is the circle that they made, where pi is an approximation, so it's not a perfect circle. So you see what I'm getting to, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Just answer this question first. What is a non-perfect circle in your mind, Fab?
Well, it's one that, you know, is radius is not, sorry, is diameter is not pi.
Diameter 2 pi, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh no, that's the circumference I'm talking about. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Which is every circle I meet in reality.
Yeah. Well, sure, for sure. I understand that the that's why we call it Platonism, right? Because it's there's a perfect form, and the perfect forms that don't exist in physical reality,
Mm-hmm.
and yet we use them to determine, right? Because, like, for instance, the Pythagorean triangles, right, don't exist in reality in the same way the circle doesn't. But that's the tool we use. That's the mathematics we use in order to build the pyramids, right?
Yeah.
So that's the sense in which I mean we use it to
But listen, I'm
manipulate reality.
okay. I'm with you when you say it's a tool. You know, it's a mind tool that we use to and then we put into reality, and we use an approximation of that mind tool. I get it. Okay. So I guess my next question would be, because now I understand, you know, your objection. So my next question would be, what does exist means?
Right. Yes. I think exist is a very difficult word, isn't it? Right. So like, is it a predicate or not? I think it's the big question in philosophy, right? So I think Kant said, it's not a property within itself. It is something that is necessary in order for something to I don't know. Well, I don't know exactly what he said. Christopher's here now.
I know, right?
That's put me off. Are you smoking, Christopher? You are. Oh dear. Okay. Okay. Yeah, he's getting high already because he knows this is going to be a mindfuck of a conversation.
And by the way, Chris, you if you missed the first 5 minutes, I made a daring attempt to compare Platonism to tomato sauce.
Yeah, not just any tomato sauce.
Yeah, my tomato sauce.
He also. I looked at the picture and I couldn't believe it. There was a lemon in it.
The fuck?
Couldn't believe it.
There was no lemon in it. He's shitting me.
I'm just stirring the pot, so to speak, metaphorically or platonically. Yeah, sorry, I don't know where we were now. I'm just completely
platonically stirring the pot.
Yeah,
we were at the
tomato sauce for him because he can't do it himself.
We were at the exist part, you know.
Yes, we were at the exist part. Okay.
Yeah.
No, that is obviously one of the kind of big questions that you might wish to think, but I don't think there is any specific definition of exist which is going to be easy to draw a line around unless you beg the question, right? So I'm not sure it's an interesting question to try and answer. Well, if you think of things, this is why Platonism exists, right? In order to define an area of existence, which in reality has many explanations of reality in itself, right? So it explains why. I don't know. What would you care? It explains, as I say, has this useful item. So it explains why these objects are useful in themselves, right? Or at least it explains the classes of items that you can get, right? So forms, the forms are ideal classes, and then under that we can draw all sorts of things which look like circles. I don't know, say ellipses or things that can be derived from circles. So it has that big benefit of having a whole subclass structure which we can relate to the original forms, if you like, or the ideal forms. So that's very useful, obviously, turned out to be extremely useful when describing the solar system, for instance. So it gives a very strong, it gives you an ability to describe reality in a way which you wouldn't have unless these forms existed. And I'm going to now say that, putting my fingers up in a very, very offensive and horrible way to like do quote marks. So if you can just imagine somebody, in fact, you do it for me, Fabio. Just put up your fingers in quote marks for me, just to be obnoxious. Say exist, right? Let's look at Fabio when I say that. Existence, yeah. So that's what I'm talking about, anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. I'm not saying that. So I don't agree with the dude that said that anybody believing in the square root of 2 should be killed. Okay, so I'm not that.
Pythagoras, right?
Yeah, I'm not going to that extreme.
Okay,
right?
okay.
But
Although
I think, yeah,
yeah. Although, if I may say, if we consider the perfect form of pizza, you would go to that extreme. See?
no. What I'm saying is that I mean I don't want to go there, right? But I think there's got to be like a medium, something in between. I'm again, I'm struggling with the notion of the that the perfect form has to exist. It is necessary that it exists. This is I'm struggling with, because to me it seems to be that you have an idea, a concept or something, and which again, it's useful because you use it, for in order to have an approximation of things that you build in reality. But to stretch it, to the fact that it is necessary for it to exist, I mean, I'm really fighting with that concept. You know what I mean? So
of course, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't. I'm trying to stay on the pros at the moment.
Children under 16 cannot reason. What the? I mean, why you put shit I never said? I mean,
that is exactly what you said.
Oh, kindergarten children are shit. That's something I can go behind. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I said to you, I was talking about the age of reason being 7, and you went, "What are you talking about? Children can't reason." And then you define children as under 16. So there we go. Just to say, this is
maybe
yeah.
So maybe this is the Platonic idea that you ever what I said, and you think it's true. That doesn't make it true.
But matter fades, but the ideals remain. Thank you. And the Platonic form, right? So they have a permanent existence, unlike reality. Yeah. So that's one of the benefits of Platonism, is that the explanation gives you something concrete and objective. Right? It's mind independent, objective to hang your hat on. Platonic hook, well, hat hook, or stand, one might say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I would love to hear somebody else, what they think about it, because I'm really super puzzled by, again, not by the concept that those forms exist. I mean, I again, I made some examples. There are some scopes with those forms, they are used. Okay, I don't know if used, if you can make the jump from used to exist, because again, that's kind of weird.
Right. Sure. Okay. So look, the main thing there that I said, which I think was important, I said something important. Oh dear. The main thing is that they're objective, right? So by objective, I mean mind independent.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, and if they're
Yeah.
mind independent, they can't just be concepts, can they?
I mean, I don't know. You tell me.
Well, if they're mind independent, if they're independent of the mind,
Mm-hmm.
then it follows from being independent of the mind that they can't exist just within your mind.
Okay, I think we got to some point here. So you're telling me that the perfect circle exists, even if there is no mind to think about it, to express it. That's what you're telling me.
That's what objective means. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's even a bigger jump than the perfect circle exists.
Are you
Yeah,
saying
I'm
that
just-
like
Yeah.
But it's
Um,
necessary.
Yeah.
are you saying that like a mind has to like have the conceptualize something in order for it to be a concept?
Yeah, because that's God, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. But yeah, I didn't want to say the G word, but that was I was hinting at, So yeah.
Cool.
So
You're allowed
that
to say
doesn't follow
garlic
that.
on the show.
Yeah, no. I just want to say somebody else to say that, because yeah. I didn't want to sound too smarmy.
Listen.
So,
Well,
how would you respond to that then? You there, sir?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, great. Have a
Well,
go. at
Mina
it,
was going to
please.
say something that I interrupted.
Oh, was she?
No, I was just asking a question.
Ask it again, please.
Does a mind have to conceptualize something in order for it to be a concept?
Yeah. I was trying to pass over that one, but yes, it
Well,
does.
yes.
In order for something
Yeah.
to be a
By
concept, it
definition.
has to be conceived. In order
Yeah.
to be conceived, it must be conceived by a mind. Almost definitional, yeah. Over to
Almost
you, Seth.
definitional.
I mean, like I kind of sort of already gave my take on it. There isn't much more to it other than I'm an upstanding citizen. I don't have a causal relationship with things that can't have causal relationships.
Mm-hmm. So, what say you about building the pyramids? Do you think it could have been done without a theodolite? And the mathematics of theodolite are based upon Platonic forms.
Yeah, that they're based on a physical representation and a mental map of that representation. They just don't exist in a magical universe separate from me.
Yeah, I think you're begging the question by saying magical there, of course, but I think we can take that as being somewhat loose language by you.
Well, I can unpack the magic. The magic part
Yeah,
is somehow there's a
please do.
causal relationship with something that can't have causal relationships.
What do you mean by a causal relationship?
Well, that's the thing about Platonism. It cannot have any effect on anything itself. Which then begs the question, how the hell do you know about it?
That's a good point. That is a good point. So I think if I can just go ahead, Chris.
What's that?
I thought you were going to say something there.
Well, it just seems to me like we're looking for the mind that has the mind independent mind variable, right? A concept is, by definition, encompassed by a mind. It's outside of our mind. So if it's human mind independent, the God term has to come up, because in order for the jigsaw puzzle of Platonism to exist, it is a necessity for these ideal forms to exist. So it might be the case that like I don't know. I mean, I don't know enough about Platonism, but it could be the case that, you have everything figured out and this one variable is just necessary. In order for this to work, there needs to be, okay, downstream from that, we got the cave and we got the bop and a blah. But like trying to figure out that's what it seems like to me. It seems like a placeholder.
Yeah. Okay. Lyric says, "Who's this guy making sense?" So I think he understands it better than I do. But anyway, any need to review the last 29 minutes? Probably not. We are going to talk in circles. If I bait, I would say perfect circles for the next probably hour.
Ideally Platonic circles.
Yeah, but that, what Chris said, was basically, what I was trying. I mean, what I asked before, why there is the necessity of these ideal forms. That would be the crux of it. I mean, I understand they exist. Cool. I'm fine with that. We set up a mathematical system.
Brilliant.
Whatever. Okay. So in order for that, mathematical systems, those forms, they exist in that scope. Cool. I'm super fine with that. Why they have to exist regardless of any kind of scope or something that we actually use it, because that's a funny thing. I can see using a perfect circle in geometry. I can see that it's useful. I can see using pi in geometry. I can see use square root of 2 in mathematics, in algebra. Cool. I'm super fine with that. But this is to me, it's a construct which derives from the tool that I'm using, be it geometry or mathematics. I get to those conclusions. So from that point of view, they exist because I set up a set of rules such as, those things eventually come up.
Right.
Cool. And the set is consistent. I'm super fine with that. I have no problems at all. I've got problems when you say they have to exist regardless of those constructs. And they have to exist because those are, because we manipulate reality with them. No, we don't. Because there is no way that in reality you will find a perfect circle. There is no way you will find pi. They simply do not exist in reality.
Well, the thing you have to keep in mind with Platonism is, compared to Aristotle, Plato was more concerned with deduction. So these master rules have to exist from which to deduce, right? As compared to Aristotle, who was, more inductive. What we see is empirical. So, I mean, math was a religion. Right. The fact that, if you're doing a proof mathematically and you're given a set of assumptions, you just work through it as if those assumptions are real. Well, we know it's not a religion now because because it is what it is. But imagine how it was treated back then. Anyway, this doesn't answer your question. It goes back to the God thing, but so I won't harp on that more.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, okay, so.
And also, you can go with abduction. It could be the fact that he had all of this evidence pointing towards the fact that there had to be, right? It could be just an inference of abduction instead of deduction or induction.
Kind of.
But I kind of shot myself in the ass because I already said he's the master of deduction.
Well, obviously Aristotle is the master of deduction because he was the one that actually laid it out into chart form and went, here's your 256 versions of a deductive syllogism. But apart from that, I think it's quite wide, right? But it's certainly the stage in between from the dialectic method to a pure reasoning method, right? So that's true. But I think I was just going to say, abduction is exactly the way I was going to go, because I was going to go, well, look, for these forms to be useful, in these geometrical forms to be useful, that needs to run away. 1-0. Fabio loses. Oh yes, thank you. Oh, crushed. Yeah, destroyed by Platonism. Anyway. Anyway, look, I was going to say, look, this is the best explanation for why it's useful, not necessarily claiming that we have a deductive argument which has an a priori soundness, if you like, a soundness for a deductive argument, that it is a thing, but at least we can give a strong abductive argument to say that this is a good explanation for why these forms are so useful to us in terms of manipulating reality. And that has just become more and more apparent since Plato's time. right? To the point now where we can even use statistical analysis in quantum mechanics to determine reality in itself. So there, Fabio, take that.
He just
Yeah.
solved everything. You missed it.
I know, right? Yeah, cool. I'm fine with
Okay.
that.
Right. So I was basically there saying, because you're one of the antis. Then I was basically just saying, look, it's an abductive best explanation for why the usefulness, what's his Wigner's unrealistic or unreasonable effectiveness of mathematics. Right. So it's the best explanation for that. That
So,
was the
sorry,
argument.
is the best explanation for what?
For why things like geometry and mathematics are
Mhm.
so useful at manipulating and explaining reality.
Oh, I think that's a different, totally different, can of worms that you want to open there.
Well,
The
you
fact
were
that,
saying, no, you were
I
saying
mean,
that, sorry, you were saying that reality, why do we need this to explain reality when it
yeah.
doesn't explain reality? I think that was your argument, wasn't it? No.
Well,
And I was
I
saying,
mean,
actually, it explains why these Platonic forms, Plato, I mean, I'm not trying to beg the question, but why geometry is such a good explanation, or why geometry works so well at explaining the world, why we can build pyramids with right angle triangles when they don't exist in reality. Well, the best explanation is that there are Platonic forms that really exist, and that's why it has a connection directly in a mind-independent connection to reality itself.
well, I mean that will work anyway if we just made up those forms, The
I'm
way
not saying this is cast iron, but it's the best explanation as well.
well, okay, no, yeah, okay, but I can counter off the explanation that all this form we just made up because for reasons, because maybe they're
And
useful,
is that a
and
better
yeah, they
explanation?
are. What?
Is that a better explanation?
I don't know. I mean, is it better than the one you provided? I think it's at least it's on par. So it's not really
Right.
pushing one
So your
explanation or
argument
the other.
is that's just magic. So
No.
that's
Au
a better, that's at least as good an explanation as
Au
look.
contraire, mon ami. I mean, I'm not saying that they have to exist, magically, as Plato says. I'm just saying that the reason we use triangles is because they're useful. It's just a shape that it might appeal to us. Why the golden ratio is so appealing to us? Because fuck me reasons, because we find it comforting to the eyes. Maybe it's the way we're built, maybe it's the way your brain is formed. I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure that my dog doesn't find something which is shaped or follows the golden ratio as appealing as I do. Maybe it's just cultural, I don't know. So I mean, again, I'm really struggling by the fact, we use triangles to build pyramids because those triangles exist, because they exist. I mean, really?
Well, no, that's not the argument, is it? That I'm putting forward. That's your argument, right?
Well, no, that was my understanding of your argument. We
Okay,
use them because, yeah.
Yeah, that's not my understanding. We use them because they do have an unreasonable effectiveness when describing reality.
Okay,
Right?
but
And
then
what best explains that?
how do we get from we've created math and geometry,
Yeah.
and it's useful, to therefore there's another universe where these symbols exist?
I don't like the use of the word universe there, but there's another form of reality, if you like. Yeah.
Another reality, I guess.
Another reality, yeah. Type of
Yeah.
reality, an abstract form of reality where these forms exist, yeah.
Yeah, but how do we make that leap?
Well, because that is a better explanation of why these forms have an effective, have an ability to effectively allow us to manipulate reality.
I would just say that a much better explanation is we've created a map based on the terrain in front of us, and we've spent time correcting that map until it was really accurate.
Right, but it turns out that if you use the ideal forms, okay, which I think we all agree don't exist in reality, that gives us the most accurate approximation.
Okay, if we take what we would consider not the ideal form if we saw it in front of us, right, on a piece of paper or whatever.
Conceptually, yeah, if you
Perfect, in the
conceive of
mind.
the perfect circle, say,
Yeah.
right. I'm trying to use triangle every time I say circle because I think triangle's a more easy one to relate to because obviously the theodolite was a real tool back then, which was essential to building.
Okay, how do we get from we can imagine a triangle to they exist in another reality?
Oh, because of the idea of Pythagorean triangles. That's what we were using to give us 90-degree angles.
Right, but 90-degree angles exist in reality.
Sure, yeah, exactly. But how do we make
Right.
it 90-degree triangle? We build a Pythagorean triangle.
Yeah, we build one. Okay,
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
all this stuff is in reality so far. I'm trying to get the bridge to this other reality.
Well, they're not.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no such thing as a perfect Pythagorean triangle which you can build. It's the ideal form is the Pythagorean triangle. But if you try and measure out exactly those lengths, you're never going to get exactly those lengths.
I don't think that somebody, I mean, that triangle were not built before Pythagoras came up. So
Yeah, well, the reason I refer to it that way is because Pythagoras, obviously, not the person that came up with the triangle, but came up with the general rule of how to build the triangle. Right? And he recognized that there was a relationship between the sides, and he worked out what the relationship was. Obviously, the great benefit of Greek mathematics is that they came up with general proofs, as opposed to the triangles that we used in Babylonia and Egypt before that, which were just numbered sides, right? They used to say, oh, look, here's a 3-4-5 triangle, which gives you a 90-degree angle.
Yeah.
Okay.
So again,
your question didn't really make too much sense in that reason.
Well, no, I mean, I still don't see the leap. Maybe it's the one Seb was asking. The leap to the fact that they have to exist. That would be my thing. I'm sorry, I'm getting back to it, but
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so I think I was trying to give an abductive argument for that.
Yeah.
Which is to say, here's the best explanation of why a perfect form, right? A Pythagorean triangle is a perfect form. It doesn't exist in reality.
I think it's the best explanation if you start from the assumption that those forms exist. Okay? So, yeah.
I'm not starting from the assumption of they exist, though. That's what I'm not doing. I'm not saying, look, here they exist. They exist in this form of it. Well, I mean, again, we're just going to argue over what exist means if we go down this road all the time, right? So I don't really want to do that. I don't find that particularly interesting. I'm saying, right, that existence can be this abstract reality. Okay, and the best reason I can give you for positing that absolutely does exist, right, is that it's a good explanation of why things like Pythagorean triangles are so useful for building, say, pyramids. Right? What else explains why triangles, Pythagorean perfect triangles, give you 90-degree angles by which you can build triangles?
Well,
which begs the question. It begs the question that there's a reason beyond the math why they need to exist. And this question is interesting to Plato, obviously, but you could just as easily do the math and not believe in Platonic forms, and everything works out great.
Absolutely. Now, I wouldn't. Okay, now we're getting into the modern idea of philosophy, and that's absolutely true. In fact, that is probably my position. one of fictionalism is actually my position. So forgive me for not adequately defending this position, all right? Because I'm not a Platonist. However, I still think that it is. I'm not going to go with it is the best, right? Because that's not my personal explanation. So why you say, well, why can't you just have this idea of conceptualism as a kind of reality by which we can have objective concepts?
Yeah.
And what is it to say something is an objective concept, though? Right? That doesn't make much sense, does it?
An objective concept? No, now we're getting religious.
That seems to me, yeah. So if we're going to go down that route, why don't we just grant the whole kit and caboodle and say that these forms exist in some abstract way, and then we don't have to necessarily go to the God thing.
Because you can have objective concept without resorting to some magical thing which exists in a parallel universe or whatever the fuck. I mean, and in my line of work, we can define 1 as being true and 0 as being false. And that is objective, because everybody agrees on that. That is objective. Is it real, though? I mean, no, it's just a concept that we have, and we use that in order to manipulate data or whatever the fuck, Yeah. So, again, that is an objective concept which has no relation to anything in any magical metaphysical sphere or something.
So it's not magical. You're granting they're not magical now, yeah?
Well, no, it's not magical. The same way that Platonic objects has to exist. That would be magical.
That's fine. Well,
that would be the magical part.
I think you were claiming that magical explanations are as good, right? So I think that was the point from earlier.
No.
All right, let me just read out a couple of text messages.
Yeah.
John, of course, come in, please, John. Absolutes don't exist in nature anywhere. If the language being used is abstracted into absolute forms, okay, it's not describing reality. It's describing macro-level high probability correlations.
Yeah.
High probability correlations. Yeah, I mean, okay, but you're just saying that. Well, that's not answering the question of why they're so effective, I think. You're just kind of saying, well, they are effective, as far as I can see. And that's fair enough. Like, as I said, I'm a fictionalist, so I would tend to agree with that. Then Lyric says, how did we make up forms to begin with? Just a description of something in use. No, I don't think it's quite that simple. And I think that the idea is that these are general forms. The forms themselves are general description, right? So we have a description of a Pythagorean triangle, which has a relationship between the sides. That relationship between the sides is what gives you a 90-degree angle. And what the difference being between induction, I think, and deduction is we're not naming, we're abstracting the numbers to ratios. So that's what makes the difference there. Please, Answers in Stoicism. Welcome. If there is a link pinned to the top of the chat, please come in. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Is that absolutely true? Yeah, I was questioning that myself. And then in the reform, abstract forms don't exist in some abstract way, so it would be odd if the Platonic forms did. Well, again, we're just talking about what the definition of exist means there. So we can get all Kantian up your ass, can't we? And say it's not a predicate, so it's not a property. So I don't know exactly what that means, but it sounds good.
I think that what it means is that you can get, if we go back to triangles, all the stuff, you can build those forms starting from something that I think we can all agree doesn't exist. Because unless you tell me that a point, which is an entity with 0 dimensions, exists,
no, that's the point. Yeah, but again, you say exist. You keep returning to the word exist.
Well, can you? I don't know. I'm asking you. Do a point which is an entity with 0 dimensions exist in reality.
Well, okay. What do you mean by in reality?
I mean, can you give me a kilogram of points?
Right. No.
Yeah, there you go. So it's something that exists in a construct that we build.
Right.
Okay, that would be
And-
geometry. And
you-
if
can
we
you give
if
me-
we if we assume that exists, we are fine with that exists in that construct, which you have no fucking idea what it is because we have
Yeah,
no
but,
idea of something with
Fabio,
zero
Fabio,
dimensions.
Fabio,
You can
Fabio.
build a line,
Fabio,
you can build a
Fabio,
segment, and you can build a
Fabio.
triangle.
Fabio, can you give me a kilogram of anything?
Of any, yeah, I mean, I can give you a kilogram of anything. You know, anything can be anything. So I can give you a kilogram of papers.
Right, but is it a perfect kilogram, or is it just slightly more or slightly less?
It's an approximate. Well, you know, it might be. It could be perfect because we have a reference in reality, which is not perfect. Actually, we have more than
There we
one because none of them is perfect.
Yeah. What about the perfect essence of the idea of practical convention? Thank you, Nerdy. Always a pleasure to have you here. Okay. Yeah, I was just saying that in itself, a kilogram is a Platonic form in itself. So you're just saying, oh, we have this. And
No.
what do you mean by-
No.
What do you,
As-
hang on. What do you mean by we have this? Are
We
you not
have an
saying this
entity.
exists?
I'm saying that we have an entity that we call it kilogram, which has some variations, and we use it as an approximation, you know, to deal with reality. That would be the opposite of a perfect form of Plato.
Right. Christopher, could you just come back while I'm putting up other stuff on that point? I think he's begging the question, but that's just because I'm using this wider definition of existence. But nope, he's doing the same thing and doing something else.
I don't
Where
know.
were we?
Can you hear us,
Sorry.
Chris? Can you,
Yeah.
Chris? Hello. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I think he
I'm
was
sorry.
talking to
I
you
was
before.
doing
That's-
something else. What are you doing? What?
yeah.
What do you need?
That's
What?
all right. I'm just trying to read out things and put stuff up and keep an eye on chat, and also reply to Fabio's begging the question about the word existence.
Yeah, he wanted you to reply to what I said about the kilogram, and I don't know how I can do that, but yeah.
I thought the kilogram. I thought the anything answer was, you know, anything can be anything. Is it a perfect kilogram? To me, this. I was thinking about this earlier when you were talking. It's like the, you know, weights and measures, calibration. Like everything like is perfect or calibrated. It almost seems like Plato is looking for the calibration.
Yeah.
Right, of the math. Like I don't know how else to put it. He's always looking for something above the math, and it's neat. And it's like, you know, he wants it to be what we would consider a standard weight or measure, except not something you can't put in your hands, right? You can't get a pint of love or a pint of envy, but he's claiming those are potentially ideal forms.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if I were an armchair psychologist, you know, I would describe Plato as somebody, you know, really unsure and, you know, knowing a person which realizes that it is human and is faulty, right? And is trying to find something to aspire to. Okay, so I'm trying to draw because I'm mental. I've been trying to draw the perfect circle for all my life. Okay, I'm never gonna succeed that. I realize that I'm human. I've got my limitation, but I cannot deal with the idea that the perfect circle doesn't exist. So the fact that I can't do it, I'm just making a projection. Okay, it has to exist, right? Because if it doesn't exist, all my life is worthless because I've been trying to pursue something which doesn't exist. That would be the armchair psychologist in me, which now I'm going to drink more beer because I think I need it. But yeah.
I'd have a bottle in front of me than a frontal lobotomy.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Mine is called Electra. There you go.
Oh no.
Have you never heard that
Yeah.
before, Simon?
What was I going to say? But yeah, so Plato's a philosopher, though, and he needs there to be philosophically, like he's looking for the Rosetta Stone of deduction, and for him, it is these ideal forms, like and he's Plato, so he has very savvy fucking arguments for everything.
Or-
that I still
or-
don't
It's not
understand.
just look. It's not just
Or,
that.
as some people would describe him, a condescending prick. That would be the same.
It's not just
Oh,
fair
if
enough.
Socrates
It's not.
were alive today, yeah, there's a
Yeah.
name for people like him.
Yeah.
It's not
Idiots.
just that. It's not just that.
Idiots.
It's that I think why he became. I would, why he's putting this forward as being a reputable thing is that these forms are indivisible within their own system, right? So these are basic forms for which all other forms can be made from. Okay, so this is why the idea. This is why they're ideal forms. It's not because they, in our language, represent nature in such a way that we can't represent, that can't be represented in this perfect kind of world. It's because Leo's here, fantastic, down with Platonism, great. It's because there's a link there, by the way, Leo, if you want to come in and shout, no problem by me. But the reason being is that these forms have even within the system of mathematics have a particular reference to all other forms. So it's not just that they represent reality in such a way that they're an idealism of reality for which we find great use, but it's even within their own abstract kind of realm, shall we say? Let's call it a realm, yeah. That they represent all other forms of shapes.
No, they
Right,
don't.
so
You
this
got
is
it
why-
backwards. They don't
Yeah.
represent anything. They're the prime mover.
Yeah,
our
okay.
reality is representative of them.
Yeah. But just staying within mathematics, okay, or geometry, shall we say? They themselves are the indivisible forms, right? You'd agree with that? All the other forms can be made up of these 5 forms. Just put any shape you like, and it can be made up from these 5 forms.
Yeah, and in human eyes, color is made up from 3 rods. Does that mean that they necessarily need to exist? Because there are colorblind fucking animals that are doing a great job surviving.
Right.
But it's that
I mean, there's
step,
also
the necessity,
Yeah.
the that it exists. That's what we've been riffing on for the past whenever.
Yeah. No,
I mean-
but that's the point I'm trying to make, isn't it? That these forms.
Oh yeah, of course. I
These
didn't mean to say
particular
it's a waste of time. It's fun.
Right.
Don't
These
get me wrong.
particular forms are the ones that necessarily, right, are the simplest forms, and therefore they exist. If we're going to use the word existence here, right, which I'm trying to keep away from because I think it's just a not helpful term in this discussion.
Well,
Then,
I mean,
yeah, go
Plato
ahead,
started
Bill,
that.
yeah.
No, I mean, Plato started with the existent thing. It wasn't me.
Yeah,
so,
for
I mean,
sure.
make up
For
for it. But, I think.
Well, Plato thought the soul existed, so
No, but I mean, I understand what you say about the forms, all this stuff. I think there is a. So we got to be extremely careful, with the all mathematical concept of which describes reality and all this stuff, because it is while it is partially true, it's not the whole truth. I mean, there are even some forms that that are perfectly legit in mathematics and in geometry, which do not have any correspondence with reality. I mean, I can't mathematically describe a tesseract. It would be very hard for me to find one in reality, or even to build one in reality. So parts of mathematics describe reality, yes. There's some branch of mathematics which have, literally nothing to do with reality. They're just pure mental exercises. And the Langdon, I think the Langham theory of mathematics is one of them. I mean, I might be out of my depth here, but I'm just going by memory. But there are some branches which they don't have necessarily a correspondence with reality. Every so often we find them. That's true, and that is the other kind of worms I didn't want to open. Basically, do we discover things in mathematics or we invent them? That's the thing which I'm staying away.
You can refer to a previous. You can refer to a previous episode of The Onion. I think it was in series 1.
Yeah.
When we had a fantastic discussion on is mathematics invented or discovered.
Yeah.
And I miss Hogtie. I'm going to say it now. I miss Hogtie. But anyway, there you go.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's while it is true what you said, that mathematics in a certain way describes reality, it's not the whole picture, and I don't even think it is the actual goal of mathematics, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
As a broad term, I'm using mathematics as a really broad term. I'm trying to encompass all the branches of mathematics.
Okay. Lyric says the real question is: are you asking is the monad real? Yeah. Thank you. What a load of monads.
So here's a question. Here's a way to detect whether here's a way of testing whether humans can detect whether something is real or they perceive it. It's a discrimination task. So could we tell the difference between a triangle that was generated by forms and one that wasn't? Because if we can't, it can technically be said that it doesn't exist.
Right.
But that's a perception argument as well, and I don't want to turn this into psychology. But it does raise the question for me: if forms are objective in the mindless way, like what's the phrase again? Mind independent way. Is it just human minds?
Yeah.
Well, presumably not just human minds, but all minds. Right. That's one of the things about Platonism that I find difficult, is that he's positing that there must be an ultimate mind in order to imagine these shapes, in order for them to be real.
What you mean?
Or it sounds like an collective.
That's what he would do. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds very Jungian. It's like it doesn't have to be a god; it just has to be a collective something that we tap into. That's another way.
And we got back to Jung, Carl Jung. Okay, yeah, I'm out of here.
Well, I think
you'll learn how to clean your room.
Well, and the thing is that from Jung to Nazi, it's a very small step, guys. So be careful.
Right. John said, second issue, form isn't actually a full description of what specific aspect is being described. Does form mean appearance, use, intentional design, color, smell, texture? Apply one, Platonist. Apply one, Platonist. Apply one, comma, Platonist.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure. Was there a question mark after that or something?
I think he was trying to say that he scored.
I think it's
one point.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's basically saying that he has issues with the word form, the same way that we have been having issues with the word exist. That would be what I get from John's comment. But if he wasn't such a pussy, he would join. As we told him, a couple of days ago. You damn.
And Pope Stock says, if you can't put it on a sandwich, it's not reality.
There you go.
I know who uses the word sandwich. Anyway, thank you, Popes. So
a sandwich is a specific thing,
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh boy.
Also can be cut into triangles as well.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Did I just step in plot? Sorry.
Oh
sorry.
yes. I mean, you stepped into the sandwich thing. It's a minefield.
I'm saying a sandwich as opposed to a sandwich, but we don't have to discuss that. We don't. Yeah. Moving on.
So Simus, Does that mean when you cut a sandwich into triangles, it makes it tastier? That
Well,
triangles are tastier than rectangles?
well, only if you look at the shadow of a fire in a cave.
Only
If you actually,
grilled cheese.
if you look at the
Only grilled
sandwich,
cheese.
well, I'm saying toast. If you toast the sandwich, Plato
Yeah.
would toast the sandwich, wouldn't he? He'd sit.
Yeah.
He's sitting in front of a fire. He has a sandwich. What else would he do? Toast it.
Would it be a chicken sandwich?
I don't know. I think he'd probably have some lemon on it though, just to piss Christopher off.
Fuck you, dude. All right, I'm out of here. After that
No,
comment.
no.
I haven't
Right.
decided yet. I was about to leave anyway. I have a hang later tonight at 8:00 at 8:10 on my channel, right after one of my premiere video essays. So if anybody's bored, feel free to stop by. But I got to eat.
Absolutely. And is how many hours from now is that? Just for people
2
that are not
hours.
in your.
It's almost
2 hours,
exactly
thank you.
2 hours from now on my channel.
Okay, so that'd be 1:00 UK time, I guess. Okay.
Yeah, we'll
Thank
be
you very
talking
much.
about race pseudoscience and all that happy horse shit. All right,
I
everyone,
don't.
goodbye.
I'm
What?
not sure I should. I'm not sure I should come in after the beating I got last week. Oh my goodness.
Mowdy, when you're done this series, you should cover veganism.
We actually went full Nazi this last one. Jesus Christ.
Honestly, I got accused of
I'd
all
rather
sorts of
cover
things.
CrossFit people.
I honestly
Yeah.
thought I was going to. I honestly thought I was going to start World War III. And
Yeah.
Anyway, there we go. I got off
You're a
thinking,
mess.
oh my god, I'm born so close to the 19th of April. I may as well be. Anyway. Or is it the 20th? I can't remember. Somewhere around there.
Why would you
Spooky says
forget?
Mouty running away.
That's right,
are
Spook. You know how it
destroyed,
works.
sir.
I'm intimidated by all the power here. They're doling out meaty justice in a way that I just can't handle.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
let me get
well,
out of here
we'll-
before I say anything more stupid.
Yeah.
Don't worry, there's always me. There's always me behind you to say something more stupid. Anyway, there we go. Let me just do this. Where are we up to, Fabio? Sub, take a sub.
Yeah.
Just come in here. Fucking destroy my argument, please.
But actually, my brain switched about how Platonism could be applied to other arguments.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Mm.
I give you
try
some of
that.
what I was thinking about what you guys were arguing. Okay, two things really. You know, the forms, right? Can't have a causal relationship. That's like one of its main things.
Yeah.
So if Yahweh is
Not
real,
direct causal relationship. Yeah.
yeah. So if Yahweh is real, and he wrote the Bible and all that stuff, there's a direct causal relationship. So what would be the actual perfect form of Yahweh?
Ooh.
Which would
What
then
do you
imply
mean?
that Yahweh is not perfect.
That's
Yahweh is good.
interesting. That's very interesting.
I like
Go
from
on.
the theological perspective that I was taught, like he's good. He's the
Sure.
perfection of good.
Right. So how does he cause things to happen in the real world if he's an abstract object? A Platonic form, in other words.
I think that the idea is that he does have Platonic form and like takes it when needed. And that is like how we have like basically the angels and whatever else. I know that's not the answer that you wanted.
I'm not sure it's an answer, but yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, because there's him, right? Let's just say he exists, right, for sake of argument.
Sure.
There's him, right? You can describe him however you want. But because
Okay.
he has a direct causal relationship in reality, like with people and stuff.
Yeah.
He can't be a Platonic form. But everything has a Platonic form if Platonism's true. So what would be his Platonic form? And Platonic forms are the perfect version of that thing. So he can't be perfect when there's a Platonic form, because the Platonic form is the perfect thing.
I feel like I followed you for part of that, and then maybe I'm just a little bit too stoned because I lost you at the last bit.
Okay, let's see. So there's a bunch of circles, right?
Okay.
Or let's go spheres, because we live in a 3D world. You know, there's a basketball, it's a sphere, a ball. It's not a perfect ball. But if Platonism's true, there is a perfect ball. Right? So
Okay.
the basketball is God in this scenario. And then there's the Platonic form that is the perfect ball.
That I don't know that the basketball is God then. Then the perfect ball is God.
Well, if the perfect ball is God, then God can't have a causal relationship with us. So he couldn't create the universe, right? He couldn't talk to us. He couldn't save us. He couldn't make a heaven where we could go.
I see what you're saying. So would then like the angels be said perfect Platonic form?
Well, not the angels are real, right? They would have a perfect Platonic form, but then there would be the actual them that we're interacting with.
How would that be different than the actual form that we're interacting with?
Well, the perfect form, the Platonic form, can't by definition interact with us.
Why?
Because then it's not a perfect form. That's like one of the main things of Platonism. They're perfect and separate, and they can't have a causal relationship with us.
Just definitionally because Plato says so?
Well, I mean, supposedly he deduced it, right?
I'm still wondering the why.
Well, this is what we were asking Simon.
I
Okay,
think
but where's the why?
my answer to that was it's the best explanation
There you go. It's the best explanation.
for the unreasonable effectiveness of mathematics and
There you go.
geometry.
It's the best explanation for the unreasonable effectiveness of God.
Okay, well, thank you for explaining that for stoners. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry,
Second,
this is all above my pay grade, but
that's okay.
I'm
But the
finding it
second thing,
interesting.
I think the second thing is way more interesting because I went from there to, you know how someone asks who you are, there's not really a good answer. Yeah, you'll say, I do this job, right? Or I'm married to this person, but there's no real answer that's like you.
No, I have literally had somebody ask me, "What is your name?" and like looked them in the eye and said, "I don't know." But that's another story.
Well, that's the thing, but your name isn't you. Your name's the label put on you,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So then I was like, well, then if Platonism's true, does that mean that we don't have a Platonic form? Because we can't actually name what we are. We can't describe it.
Excellent. Okay. So I think this is a very interesting. Oh, hello. Hello, Dave. Hello, everyone.
Oh,
I'm in hospital. Found a spot on my.
good
Oh
luck
my
with that.
goodness. Yeah, dude. I'm sending big love to you.
Yeah,
I
hope
really
that goes
am.
smoothly.
I always thought you were going to tell me about your finger, but oh my goodness, Dave. All the best from I think everybody here. So
Yep.
yeah. Good luck tomorrow. I'll be thinking of you, and obviously, yeah. Just I'm sure everything will be fine. I'm sure that you're in good hands. You're in probably the most skillful land in the world, according to certain people. It's the best country ever. And
Hell yeah.
so yeah, hell yeah. So yeah, good luck, my friend. And I'll keep an eye out for you. Yeah. Thank you, Earl. Yeah. Okay, I'll be looking out for you for sure. And again, sending you best wishes. Sure, everything will be great.
Yeah, if there is a God, he'll be okay because he has to come back so we can argue about guns.
For sure. Yeah. Tell them that you were on the verge of finding Bigfoot. I'm sure they'll get you back whippity sharp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, Dave, thank you so much for coming by. In the meantime, we're going to entertain you with more meaningless babble about shadows, about the Shadowland.
I don't.
Yeah.
Is it really meaningless? I guess it is kind of meaningless, but I'm finding it really entertaining and really interesting. I feel like I'm learning a lot, but maybe not. I don't know. It's entertaining at least.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's always at worst, it's something that to forget for tomorrow, and at best, it's
True.
it might be true. So there you go.
Well, with that, I'm going to go back to making a stupid argument.
Now, I love.
Uh,
Can I just stop you there, sir, before you
okay.
go back to a stupid Owen? Because the argument you made, I think, is wonderful. Okay, Fabio, just
I
tell
like
me what do you think about that argument against for I guess it's for atheism, right? What is the perfect form of God? If you say God is the perfect form, then you're saying that it is some kind of Platonic form, in which case it's abstract and has no causal powers.
Yeah.
And if you say the perfect form of God is identical with the causal version of God, then you're saying how does that square? Because obviously that's not a Platonic form then.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good because it literally kills two birds with one stone. It just kills the Platonic forms and God, so it's brilliant. Yeah.
I
Okay,
so
let's do a paper
You
on
can't
it.
have both. You can't have both. You have to pick one.
so you have to
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
like a perfect form and a platonic form. Is what
They're
No, the
the same
Platonic
thing.
form is the perfect form.
Yeah, they're the same thing.
and it has to be the same.
They are the same thing, definitionally. Yeah.
No, yeah, but the thing is, that you can't actually pick one because if you pick one, the other one follows, and then it doesn't work. So yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, if you define, as long as you define God as a perfect being or a
Yeah.
perfect form, you see, there may be some wiggle room there between the word form and being, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So
Semantically.
that is the kind of argument where, if presented to somebody, he will ask you, "How do you know that?" And then you know that you won, okay? Because
Right. Oh, just always say, if anybody asks you how do you know that, you go, well, it's the best abductive argument. That's all you got to say, and then that's circular in itself, so you're good to go. Things to talk by the fire, exactly. Also, Geo, Dave sends love as well from Geo. Babble and big words make me hot.
Wow. I
All
wish
right,
I knew it
exactly.
sooner.
Yeah.
I wish I...
Okay. You're one in a million, Sandy. 1 in a million.
Yeah.
Things to talk by the fire. It's the fire that's making you hot. Exactly.
I do like how these things kind of turn into fireside chats and then
Is it a
non-Mormon
Platonic
way.
fire or a metaphysical
Well,
one?
is there such a thing as a Platonic
No,
fire?
it's
I
the
don't know.
fire that casts the light on the objects that create the
interesting.
shadows in the cave. The Fabio.
That's very. Do you know?
There you
Actually, now you said that. There's no such thing, is there? Because you can't have these if you're saying that you're relying on light, then you can't be relying on a perfect form because light can't be a perfect form, can it? Because it's not abstract. So
Yeah.
that's quite interesting. Although potentially it is one of the things that cross the boundary.
Well, I mean,
right?
it's
When you say, hang on, when you say there's no such thing as a straight line, for instance, which we were talking about points, right? So the other thing is straight lines. Then, of course, one of the examples is the boundary between two colors.
Yeah. No, but you're right. I mean, if you get to the light, it's even worse than that because is it a particle? Is it a wave? I mean,
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
fucked.
It kind of crosses that boundary, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The Platonic form is that which substantiates everything. Well, that's
Wow.
the claim.
Okay.
That is the claim.
Yeah.
But
I mean, listen. I'm not saying that I can't live with that. Okay.
I know.
I mean, I'm really happy. I mean, if you can
I
live,
personally can't, but Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, I totally can. Let me rephrase that. I'm not saying that that if you live by that, you're wrong. Okay,
Obviously, yeah.
it's just that it doesn't clicks with me. It's just one of those things that you get to a point where you have to, okay, yeah, they exist. Why? Because fuck you, that's why. And then
Well, it's not that simple. Come on now. It's
well,
not
I mean,
simple.
listen, if you reduce it is exactly like that, because why do Platonic
No.
forms exist? Because they do. And why? Because fuck you,
It's
That's
no, Fabio,
yeah.
no, Fabio.
No?
No, of course not.
No.
Because of Wigner's argument.
It's what?
That's the
Sorry?
reason. Because of Wigner's argument.
The what argument? Sorry?
Wigner. So he said, what explains the unreasonable effectiveness of mathematics? And you still have to answer that question, right? Yeah, we can say there are other things, right? Nominalism or fictionalism, or there's other ways to explain it for sure, right? But you have to give some kind of explanation there, right? And Platonism is just another explanation. Now, whether you find that personally satisfying or not, I don't personally, of course, but that's not to say that some people, I mean, a lot of people do find it personally satisfying to say, oh, well, look, that's because there's this realm of perfect forms, right?
Well,
Which are the best
oh,
approximation of.
hold on a second, because now you're jumping ship, because
I'm not jumping ship at all.
oh yeah, yeah. Oh, you're totally jumping ship.
How am I
Because
jumping
I mean, if you ask me why mathematics explains reality so well, okay,
Yeah.
that is a weird. I mean, it's a good question. I don't have a good answer, but the only thing I can tell the only thing I can tell you is that mathematics doesn't presuppose the existence of perfect forms. You get to those forms
Right.
from other presuppositions axioms that you have in mathematics. So I mean, if you're trying to draw that parallel, you got to drop Platonism and say, okay, let's start with the axioms of mathematics, which are not Platonic, and then it's a different conversation.
Right. I don't think it is a different conversation. Number one.
Well,
number two. Okay,
it
go ahead.
is. I mean, it
Okay.
is.
Well, I don't think so.
Well, okay.
As a Platonist, I think you can quite plausibly say that this is a good explanation as to why geometry works in such a way that we can generalize to the Pythagorean triangle, which in itself is useful.
Listen, I mean, useful, it's one thing. I granted you useful from the get-go.
You can't build a pyramid without it.
Well, I mean, actually you can, but I mean, I grant you useful. I have no problems with useful. It's the fact that they do exist. I mean, I know that an imperfect.
But that's the argument. It's because it's useful that they do exist, right? That you can positively of them, and that is a good explanation for them. In fact, probably a more likely explanation than other things that Plato was considering, right?
I mean, listen,
that's
the number.
I know you don't like the argument in such.
No, it's. I mean,
unsatisfying. Hang on, I know you don't like it in the fact that you find it unsatisfying as an explanation. I get that side of it. I do as well, personally. But the point being is, it is some type of explanation. That's
okay, listen again. Some type of explanation.
Yeah.
Cool.
Exactly.
I'm cool with that. Okay, I don't agree. Is it some type of explanation? Yes. Do I agree with that? Do I think it's flawed? Yes. Do I think that the number 3 has to exist in order to be useful in real life? Fuck no. I mean, I don't care if the number 3 exists as a Platonic object or whatever. It's still useful in real life. So it doesn't make any difference at all. And the fact that somebody says, oh, no, it has to exist. I mean, why you're adding shit to something that you don't need?
Right.
That would be,
Exactly.
And,
like as I said, right? Sorry, Nerdy says, I see you're using the Platonic form dialogue to argue against Platonic forms.
Yeah. Yeah.
And John says measurements are always approximations, Simons. Even a tenth of the micron difference is a different object, even if that doesn't change the usefulness of the
Yeah,
approximation.
exactly.
That is
Yeah.
part of the Platonic argument, to be fair. Right? To be fair to the Platonic argument, it's saying, look, it's this. These are why we call them perfect forms, or why Platonists call them perfect forms, is because they are approximations. And I think even Plato realized that in his time. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to. Otherwise,
Okay.
you wouldn't have
Okay.
general rules. Yeah, go ahead.
So they call it perfect forms because they are approximations.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, that's even more mental than I thought it was.
Right. Okay.
Because that makes even less sense than, because you can't use mathematics with that. First of all, no, I mean you can't use the reasoning that you said before about mathematics. If that's true, if what you said is true, I didn't know, so I'm
okay. I don't know whether it's true in the sense of I don't know, in the sense of whether they understood that to be the true, right? So let me row back a little bit, but it's true in the sense that we now understand it to be true. Okay, and as I understand it, Plato's wealth was generated by crystal cutting, diamond cutting, and ruby cutting, etc. And that's where he recognized the Platonic form, first recognized the Platonic forms. So I think he made the abstraction from the pure shapes of crystals to the Platonic forms.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I was just saying, and again, maybe I misunderstood. I don't know, but if the sentence it was said before was that the perfect form is perfect because it's an approximation. So now there is another issue because we've been talking about we've been comparing that to mathematics and the forms that we found in geometry and mathematics. That thing just goes away. You can't make that comparison anymore. You can't make that comparison anymore because when you're dealing with geometry and say pi, I mean, pi is perfect. It's not an approximation; it's perfect. You use it as a placeholder for something that is perfect.
Right. But if you tell me two things, let's not get confused between the two things, right? Yeah. When we talk about reality, we're not talking about perfection, right? But when we talk about Platonic forms, we are talking about perfection, right? So it is true that in Platonic forms, the circumference of a circle is twice the diameter, right? 2 pi d.
Okay, so right? Okay,
right.
So yeah,
I can't remember offhand because I'm just making shit up now. But
maybe I misunderstood. I thought that somebody said that the Platonic forms are not perfect. That's what I understood.
No.
Okay, yeah, cool. Well, fair enough. Okay.
I don't think any. Maybe John said it. Let me just read it. Measurements are always approximation, Simons, even a tenth of a micron. It's the difference, even if it doesn't change. Yeah, I don't think he's saying that the Platonic forms are like that.
No, he didn't. No, it wasn't him. I thought you said that, but maybe I misunderstood you. No, that's all. That's fine.
I don't know. No, I certainly wouldn't say that. Okay. Right. Where are we up to? Sorry, we got slightly distracted. And once I get derailed, because I'm reading the chat as well and trying to keep up with that, I kind of lose where we're at. So, okay. So, thank you, for that difference between form and what was it? Form and something that you mentioned. Form and
maybe essence said that.
No, it wasn't essence.
Wasn't me.
Can you remember the two words that I made the distinction between? No. So you said God. If God is perfect,
then he would have to be the Platonic form. If he's a Platonic form, he can't interact with us.
Causal.
So if the
Okay.
Bible's true, God can't be perfect. Essentially,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if this definition of Platonism is true, then God can't exist as a causal entity. I would grant that. But there is a slight distinction there that you could use between saying, well, God is the perfect form which has the ability to be causal, right? And you could kind of special plead your way out of that, I guess, by definition. Since it's a definitional argument in the first place, I don't think you would be too unreasonable to do that.
Well, yeah,
I made
because
a distinction between saying God exists and God's form exists.
Okay.
Right. So there was a slight crossover there, but that wasn't the word I used either. Existence wasn't the word I used because I'm trying my hardest not to use that word in this hangout. Anyway, what was your third argument? You said there were two arguments there which you explained to us, and you said, but that's not all.
Oh, well,
move us on to the next one.
Wait, it was the God one, and then it was the maybe Platonism is true, and there isn't a form of us that way. That's why we can never answer that question. That was the second one. Oh, the third one was just stupid. It was, if Platonic forms.
Sorry, let's go straight to the second one here. So you're saying about if, like, we don't exist as our Platonic form, is that right?
Oh no, the second one wasn't so much an argument; it was sort of a pondering.
So if
it was,
we exist,
when someone asks you who you are,
yeah,
there's not really a good answer to that question.
Yeah.
Right. You can tell them your label, like your name. You could tell them what you do for work.
Sure. That's circular though. Yeah.
Yeah. You could tell them like what species you are, like all sorts of stuff. But you can't really convey the you.
Mm.
And I was like, baby, if Platonism's true, you can't convey the you because there is no Platonic form of you.
Ooh. Yeah. Or well. Yeah, I mean that's kind of Augustine's argument, isn't it, for why God exists? Because God is the perfect form. Yeah. But then we're back to argument one again. We're saying, well, God doesn't have any causal powers there, but
I think that a corollary to what Cerberus said is that not only you can't describe the perfect form. I mean, you can't even, when somebody asks you who are you can't even describe the essence of you, which would be another point. So.
Yeah. I did. Well, the third one I had was just stupid. It was like, if the Platonic forms are real, make me a sandwich out of them. But I actually just something else just popped into my head. So the reason why you postulate Platonic forms is because there's a bunch of things that, even though they're not exactly the same, they all sort of match this form.
Yeah.
Okay, but you can identify that there's this form, and then there's all these things that we can identify as forms. So is there a Platonic form that wouldn't be a Platonic form, but is the form of all the other forms? That makes sense?
Yes, that does make sense. And yes, there is the answer to that. That's what Plato's Platonic forms are, right? Which is these 5 geometric shapes, which encompass all other shapes, given certain limitations, right? So that's what Platonic forms are. And then secondly, to answer the first part of the question, I think Platonists are saying something like, well, this is a good explanation for things that what we would call, I don't know, universals or classes, right? So this, the name of the class, right, is the idea of the Platonic form. Right, so all red objects are red, and redness itself is a Platonic ideal.
I think that what Seb was describing before is the eternal struggle between the engineer and the mathematic. And the engineer at a certain point said, fuck your mathematics, I have to build this shit. So I mean, it can't be, perfect as you think it is. It's good enough for the girls to go out with.
100%. But that is part of the argument, right? That the Platonists use, right? They'd say, well, that's fine, right? But the closer you get it to the Platonic form, the more like it is the Platonic form, I guess, right?
Well, yeah.
So in terms of, hang on a minute, in terms of the pyramids,
yeah.
right? The pyramids are whatever they are, 400 meters high or some shit, and yet the center is is accurate to within whatever it is, 20 centimeters or 30 centimeters or something, right? And that's done because they use Platonic forms in order to as a basis for measuring where and how to build it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but I think that the old concept of Platonic form is something which is really useful if you have a contract with the government, in order for you not to do anything, basically not to have anything done. Say, wow, I mean, I can't really deliver this shit because it's not a really Platonic form. Well, yeah, I'm gonna work on it. So,
Yeah. No, I've done loads of work on that. It's just non-causal work.
Yeah. Sorry,
Okay.
I'm a Platonist. I got to deliver you something which is mwah. Yeah, but yeah, can't do that.
Thank you, Lucky, for coming by earlier. I really appreciate you. And we'll look forward to seeing you on Monday for, of course, the Monza Grand Prix or the Italian Grand Prix. Okay. I mean, okay. So, like, I mean, I guess I wasn't expecting anybody to be able to defeat Platonism because it's such a widely held view. Within I don't know what I'm going to say, mathematics or philosophy, I guess, or the philosophy of mathematics. I guess it's a strong view. No, it's not even that. I think we did that hangout with Hogtie. He was saying actually fictionalism is the widest held view amongst mathematicians. But nonetheless, I still think it has a reasonable explanation, although what I find lacking is the strength of the explanation is somewhat ad hoc, I would say. Right. So that's the problem with it that I see.
Yeah.
That's the biggest problem I have with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Headless. I'll call you now, so you can speak in a minute. I mean, is there anything else to say on the subject? I don't know if there is or not. But from us, anyway. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty more to say on the topic. Like, I mean, some people think that this type of explanation is good for explaining morals as well, right? So you can have objective morals because they exist in some abstract form.
Yeah.
And thank you, Nerdy. The essence of being perfectly ad hoc.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think that's quite important to say that it's still a useful explanation. And that's, I guess that was Spickner's point all along. I do find I find it the dilemma between trying to describe something objective, which we think numbers are. Most people think numbers are objective, right? And not most people. That's kind of wrong as well. But they have a sense that numbers are not subjective.
They have a concept.
Say.
They have a concept. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's it. Most. I would guess a lot of people. Let's not say most. A lot of people think that numbers are conceptual, but they exist independently of their own mind. So 2 would be 2, regardless of whether I existed or not. And that seems to give some legitimacy to saying that numbers aren't subjective, and if they're not subjective, they must be objective. We got welcome to Skeptic Philosophy. Do you want to jump in quickly? We can just, if you want to, that would be lovely. The link is pinned at the top of the stream. And I'd love to hear a couple of things, or I'd love to ask you a few questions on this particular topic. How are you, my friend? Thank you, SP. Sup, SP? Popular man, SP. Yeah, so if you want to jump in, I'll give you a little bit of time to do that. So that's the argument, right? And I don't think anything anybody said here is really derailed that argument. Oh yeah, okay, I'll give you a sec, no problem. Particularly, at least given a conclusive argument, other than maybe an abductive argument against, but certainly not a deductive argument. So I don't think there's a necessary conclusion that it must be false, and if that's the case, then it's certainly possible in some modal sense, at least. Is that interesting? I'm not sure. Normally, I would say no, but there is something about mathematics which does seem to imply that something extra is going on. It's not like God, right? Although they're non-causal, there is certainly something which can be said, about something like mathematics, which can't be said about God. I feel. Welcome, skeptic.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Good. We're having a little hangout here. The title of which is there too much on the plate of Platonism? Okay.
Okay.
In other words, can Platonism, the justifications for Platonism get loaded up quite high, right? So not just ideal forms, but in latter years, things like this abstract realm explains things like morals and things which are concepts, but which are objective, right? And that seems to be a dilemma between the two words, or at least some conflict there. And this idea of Platonism and idealism is an explanation. So what would you say?
I made a video on this subject about a lot of things being lumped in with a priori. And I talked about this with mathematics and having this kind of false equivalency with things like ethics, which I'm fully convinced that ethics, and I've probably talked to you about it before, it is completely evolutionarily developed. It's altruistic evolutionary development all the way because it's just beneficial. And I think that's been evolving to give us larger and larger circles, first of all. And those people who can have larger and larger in-group circles are more successful. Those tribes.
I'm not sure. Sorry to stop you. Circles. Did you mean to use the word circles there?
Yeah, larger
that sounds like a Platonic form.
Are they perfect circles?
No. Y'all mixing up terminology.
Okay, right.
All right. But no, in groups. If you're thinking about it, it's in terms of sociology or anything. This is in groups. So you got people that can make larger and larger in groups. Those tribal groups or those compact. Those groups are more successful if they can have a larger and more dynamic in group. And this goes really all the way up to World War II, where the Allies won this battle and the Axis lost this battle. But this didn't just start here. This has been going on forever. The larger diversity you can have and the more in group you can have cohesion that you can work together as a group. This is getting rewarded because it's surviving against the competition of those that are, no, just people that look like me. That's all that I'll allow in. So this is something that has been, as far as we started with kinship evolution, or we started with kinship morality, that only things that look like me, smell like me, things that I can relate to, do I extend this boundary of ethics to? And then that boundary of ethics begin to grow larger and larger and have a larger and larger in-group. And I think that's just where we are now. I'm convinced I missed that with the in-groups.
I'm convinced that this panel is the Platonic in-group.
Okay, I got you.
Okay. We like to have fun here at it, really. So some things that are said are serious and some aren't.
But that's different than math. Mathematics is something that I tend to agree. This is something that we've just inductively, like David Hume says, we learn everything from induction, whether that works or it doesn't work. And we've learned mathematics that works. I mean, we know in terms of like physical objects, that we perceive a physical object and we put two objects together, whether we're counting them or we're saying this one and this one, we know that we have two of them. And is there a logic that can follow that is a representative? So you have a logical form that is representative of the physical form, but we do the same thing with words.
Yeah.
It's a vocal form that is representative of a physical form. This whole conversation, this is exactly what this is. And all mathematics is it is a conceptual form that is a representation of a physical form.
Yeah. Okay, so let me just try and put one more argument against that.
Okay.
Just to play devil's advocate.
All right, sure.
Okay, so maybe you could say, well, yeah, but look at reality. It's still consistent, right, with the Platonic forms, okay? And when I say consistent, it's completely accurate in some ways, right? The fact that I can look at, say, a square, right, in reality, a table which is square, it still conforms to having 360 degrees perfectly. Right, so there's still going to be all of those corners, even if they're not exact and they're only approximations, they're all going to still add up to having 360 degrees perfectly.
You know, there's a very similar subject to this that right after Plato, Aristotle dealt with this about the Aristotle's paradox with the wheel. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about with. If you have the two different wheels, there's a great video. I'll probably try to link it in here that a lady tries to explain how we figured this out. But Plato had Aristotle had a wheel paradox. And if y'all want to go look it up to understand what I'm talking about, that dealt with something very similar to this, that if you take a wheel and you roll that wheel and it has a specific length, and then I can't actually show it with my hands, but you have a circle and then you have a larger circle. And let's say that one of the wheels extends out and it rolls on the surface. And the length that it goes when it rolls on that surface, the larger wheel will have went the same amount of distance. But if you set it down on a on the same counter, it will go a different amount of distance. You almost have to visually see it, but it's called Aristotle's paradox, but it deals with slippage of space is what's going on. And that there is this, if you have the two different size wheels inside of the same object, one is anyway, it's very related to this subject of the 360, that there's this slippage. Made me think of it.
Right. So how do you refute the argument that I put forward anyway? Just either anybody, see, not just you, skeptic, but so I'm saying, look, all of those angles, regardless of the fact that they are approximations, still add up to a perfect 360 degrees.
We simply divide those. Those are arbitrary numbers. We could have divided.
What are arbitrary numbers?
The 360. We could have made it. We could have made it anything.
Yeah.
We could divide.
But
that
the point is that
an
whatever we
infinite
make
amount
it, doesn't matter what we make it. Doesn't matter what we make it. It's still perfectly there.
Yeah, that's a spatial consistency. That there is spatial consistency with the numerics. Yeah.
Sure. But that applies to reality. Okay. So
but there's no set number. It is infinitely divisible and infinitely. This is what's the math theory on this subject? Because you can literally make this any infinite growth of numbers in any direction, that it still equals that. So does that make sense what I'm telling you? I'm trying to think of the name of it.
Not to me, but that's because I'm trying not to understand it, because I'm trying to be a devil's advocate, right?
Okay. That there can be an infinite amount of divisibility of the number one, right? We can say the number one.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That it's infinitely divisible. So this reaching a consistent state, that it reaches, it's like dividing a one. You don't have to do the space around you. You can divide the one, and you can divide it down infinitely. And then you can say, when we cut all these into different pieces and we add them back up, how do they still equal one? Well, no shit, they still equal one. They're from the whole part all broken down. And what you're doing is you're starting with the whole of area, and then you're just breaking it down into components, and you're saying all those components equal back up and they equal this. How's that possible? Well, it come from that.
Yeah. Okay. I think I got a slightly stronger argument. Maybe I'll put to you.
All right.
Javier, were you going to say something back there?
No. I mean, I was just going to reiterate something that I said before. We got to be super careful with this line of reasoning, because while it is true that that there are some mathematical concepts that actually predict reality. I mean, there are some of them, some branches of mathematics that have nothing to do with reality. There is also some things, in mathematics that they're just there for no reason at all because they work.
Yeah.
So a negative times a negative is a positive. Why? Because it works. There is no other explanation than that. And if that's not one, I mean, I'm not going to say it's the nail in the coffin that that mathematics actually is a representation of reality and not vice versa. But it's kind of a like a like a creek, in the perfection of this kind of concept. If we start, I mean, if those things exist, and they exist because, again, a negative times a negative, the reason why it's a positive, it's because it works.
Sure.
I mean, it becomes really difficult, to say, oh yeah, about mathematics, why mathematics predicts all reality. Well, sometimes it's, mathematics just adheres to reality,
Yeah,
and
I agree. I think it's easy to mix up the brute force object, though. You can say that the mathematics is the brute force thing, or you can say that reality is the brute force thing, and that mathematics simply just aligns with it very well. But that we have places where mathematics doesn't align with it very well. That it does break from it. The hand clapping one that Alex O'Connor did not too long ago with the chat GPT or whatever AI Alex O'Connor used. Well, I'm going to clap my hands. I'm going to start with 1 foot of distance. Explain to me how I can clap my hands. And he does the old arrow trick that you half it and then you half it and then you half it. How is it possible that I ever clap? Well, it simply is possible that you clap. Oh, well, but mathematically, this is infinitely divisible. This has to go on forever. Yet, how is it that we clap? We do clap.
There is another weird example that I love it.
Can you keep talking till I get back, please? I just need to go and do something. Go ahead, Fabio.
Now I would say that there is another weird example. Mathematics applied to reality, and the two things do not coincide. There is the example of, let's say for example that you have a light switch, and you press the light switch every the first time you press it after 1 second. The second time you press it after 1.5 seconds, and you go and divide every time. That's a function. The limit is 2. The interesting question is, after 2 seconds, you basically press that switch an infinite amount of time,
right?
Which again is something which is okay. But the real question is the light on or off? So mathematics can give you an answer, right? Try to put that in reality.
Can it really give you an answer? Because
no. It will not give you an answer. It will. Let me rephrase that. Mathematics will give you
going on and off faster than the speed of light.
Will give you a reasoning. It will tell you that the result is indeterminate. But again, we're not talking about something which is going to happen. It's not like an infinite series of number, it never ends. That's, the limit is 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And after 2 seconds, that sequence has to stop. And has to stop by pressing an infinite amount of time the light switch. And you can't even determine if it's on and off. So you see, I mean, that is a perfectly legit example. It's sound mathematics, deals with limits. That has no application whatsoever in reality.
Nothing. But we have in reality, we have things like Planck's constant. We have upper limits of whether the speed of light, or we have all of these limiting factors that limit that. Whereas mathematics, just purely by itself, it doesn't have any limiting factor.
Yeah.
That's why it's not a one-to-one correspondence. Is it close and is it practical? Do we use it and it works very good? Absolutely. But does it absolutely represent reality? No, there's a lot of variations.
No, you're right. I mean, that's the same reason why. I mean, I understand the argument. People say no, it is astonishing how much of the mathematics relates to reality. Yeah, okay. Do we know how much of mathematics doesn't relate to reality? Because I mean, I can be right like 3 times out of 10. But if I'm right 3 times consecutively, and I'm just stopping answer the 4th time, I'm a fucking genius, If I only have to answer to 3 questions and I answer them perfectly, I'm a bloody genius.
Well, okay, but I've got an argument against that, of course. Can just simply say, but you're Italian. But anyway, apart from that,
what got you on the Platonism? What got you on the Platonic forms? And are we talking about Plato's pure form argument?
We started from the sauce that I'm cooking right now. I kid you not. I'm cooking a tomato sauce. Yeah. And we're just wondering, so Plato would say that, the tomatoes got the tomato-ness and all the shit, but actually the sauce is trying to reduce the essence of the tomato.
Right, but I want to get back to just I don't think you've addressed the argument that I put forward, right?
Okay, all right.
You've nicely skirted it.
All right.
You've nicely gone around the circle, but you've not penetrated the radius.
Okay, well, let me reiterate.
That's what I'm going to That's what I'm going to say now. I'm going to put the same argument back. Look, that 360 degrees, right, is a representation of the circle, right? That circle only has 360 degrees when the radius is a fixed distance. Okay, so you can't have an infinite radius and a circle. Those two things don't go together. Okay, so the perfect form of this circle that you were talking about, right, and the 360 degrees, right, is by its own definition attached to reality in such a way that you have to have a determined radius, right, a said form of the radius, which is definite, not indefinite. So when you say, look, there's this indefinite process going on with a circle in 360 degrees, that's not strictly true.
It's only because we're using 360, though. I mean,
no, it doesn't matter. No, don't get hung up on 360.
You can say 1, though, Simon. You could say 1 and divide this as many times.
Yes.
Whatever the 1 is, let's say that reality is the brute force.
But look. I know, I heard that argument, right? And I'm trying to be devil's advocate here. I'm saying, but the counter to that argument of saying, look, it could be just 1, it could be any number, and it always is going to be 360. Yes, it's always going to be 360. That bit's agreed, right? But look, it is tied to reality by having a definite radius.
What is a paradox? All of the different paradoxes, whether it's Aristotle's paradox or all of the philosophers of old, what would you say these paradoxes are? Are they where these mathematical rules that we would think would predict a certain thing break? Because it seems to me that's what they are. So you're using one example of where the math doesn't break inside of your circle form, but there are many places where the reality and the mathematics, they break consistency from one another.
Well, that's the point of this argument, is to say, look, no, that square that we talked about, still all of those angles, however imperfect they are, add up to 360 degrees, right? And I'm saying that 360 degrees is based upon a definite length of a radius. You can't have an indefinite length of a radius. Okay, so that's the connection, right, to reality. And that justifies why I'm saying, look, there is this connection of imperfection between reality and the Platonic forms. It's not just that this is always an approximation, because sometimes it's not an approximation, right? And that is at the times when the radius is exactly measured to be some particular unit, right? Which is arbitrary, but it's definite. Just the same way that we're saying about the actual form of a length, right? Yes, it's arbitrary because a meter is an arbitrary length, right? But if we say the radius is 1 meter, right, it's still going to have 360 degrees as part of the spatial area that it can obtain, right?
Or
so that's the argument. Now, I'm not saying it's a good argument. Don't get me wrong here. I'm trying to be devil's advocate. Right, but I would like you to address that specific point.
Yeah, I'm not a mathematician, and that of all philosophies, that interests me.
Yes.
Mathematical philosophy is way on the back burner of what interests
okay, no,
me.
that's fair enough. That's fair enough. And just to put context in it, I did do mathematics. I did pure
Okay.
mathematics, so that was kind of my bag. So maybe I'm just playing.
What's the
I wish Hogtie were here because he did do
then
mathematics.
what's the
mathematics.
what's the thing that I was talking about earlier with the math is golly, I wrote about this a year ago and I have read about this a long time
While
ago.
you look it up, I'm just going to address
Okay.
Fabio quickly. Fabio, did you want to answer that particular objection?
I was looking at something else,
Okay,
so
no problem at
yeah.
all. Serb, did you want to do that?
No, nothing was good.
Okay, yeah, okay, good. Anybody else, Headless or Minnow?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Headless? Come back off mute, I see. Nope, that's fine.
I will agree
Okay.
that a pair of docks is a good pair of boots. I mean,
A pair of docks. Okay.
Okay.
Set theory.
Set theory, yes. Now you're talking. All right. I mean, this is one of the areas where I feel that Platonic objects have an advantage, because they do explain and justify classes and universals. Right now, you may not agree with the explanation. Of course, I don't agree with the explanation, but you may not agree with the explanation. But there isn't an explanation which can be given, coherently. So why not go for Platonism? Would be my answer. At least it gives you some way to ground, in the sense of the presuppositionalist, and get to deductive arguments based upon induction.
Okay.
Right, so that would be my kind of. You could get to a priori conclusions, right, and rely on a priori conclusions, I should say, even though your justification is going to be inductive in the end run.
I just checked. I think you begged the question with set theory because Cantor was actually a Platonist. So yeah, you got an easy win there. But I don't think.
I'm afraid that's just an appeal to authority. So I'm not sure
Well,
we can accept that.
I mean, if you're talking about set theory, I don't think that Cantor is an appeal to authority. I mean, he's the man. So.
Well, the reason that I was mentioning set theory is just that these things are, you think of this circumference, whatever reality is, let's say that reality as we can perceive things three-dimensionally, let's think of that as whatever number you want to think of that as, represented in all directions. Yeah. We can think of that as the number one, and you can divide that infinitely or however you want to divide it. But whatever you divide it into, when you add those things back up, they're going to equal that thing. So you could say, well, half of those total numbers equal half of that side of perceivable reality. But it doesn't matter because you're still starting with the one, which is representing reality, because you have to take it holistically. So we have whatever reality is, then you can divide it into 360 degrees if you want, and then say, yes, but all of those degrees add back up to the full circle of reality. Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. But you just divided the one of what reality is. So yeah, makes sense that it would come back to itself.
Yeah. Again, I don't think that answers the objection that I made.
No, I know. I know
about ratio, about
its correspondence to the
about having a definite
to the radius.
I mean, there is a definite measurement that pi is not an indefinable figure, right? You can't divide it. It turns out you can't divide it because otherwise, you're saying that I don't know.
There's no conclusion of pi, though, right?
Well,
pi is an
I think the point
runaway.
is you can't have a circle with an infinite radius.
Am I wrong though, Simon? I mean, pi has no conclusion. It's an infinite runaway.
Yeah. It's an irrational number. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I'm saying, you can't have a circle with an infinite radius, right?
Sure. Or yes, actually you can. No, you can because you can infinitely divide it. again, this is
No,
what I
you
was talking
can't.
about
No,
with set
you
theory.
can't. You can't. No.
Not as it corresponds to a number of whatever.
Not maintain the relationships between pi
Right, maintain the
and
relationship.
and the circumference. Say.
Yeah, yes, you can. All right, you ready? Are you ready? All right,
Yeah.
let's
Real
say
quick.
the
Go ahead.
circumference
Real quick.
represents 1.
Real quick,
Go ahead.
I don't want to interrupt later. I have to go. It's
Yeah.
dinner time.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. You've been
Ciao, sir.
immensely helpful. Thank you.
Boy.
I'm loving your argument against God there as well. Oh, I thought that was brilliant. The
Which what?
Platonist argument against God. Oh, Christians are going to love that. Anyway.
So let's say
Okay, yeah,
that
no, go ahead.
the
You were
circumference
talking. You were going to
represents
say.
1. The
Yeah.
circumference represents 1, and
Right.
then this radius you can divide that. Well, you'll have, I guess the radius will be pi then.
Well, unfortunately, the radius will be an indefinite number.
Right,
an
an
irrational number.
It'll be an irrational number. Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right.
So
But it's still
that's kind of saying, right, you can have a definite circumference if you have an indefinite radius. So you're not really doing it, because my argument is you have to have a definite radius in order to have a circumference.
Okay.
Well, I mean, if you think about extending a line to infinity, okay, then what's the tangent? Tangent's at 90 degrees. Well, there's no circle that has a 90-degree tangent, right? That exactly fits the next point, the next degree. Yeah?
We're getting very abstract here. I just want to let you know.
Course,
I'm not sure if this works for great entertainment on YouTube, this type of conversation of how much we can divide or cut up a circle.
Well, no, I mean, you accept, you understand what I'm saying.
I'm entertained.
When I say, okay, that's great. As long as you get the point I'm making, I'm happy. And I think that might be relevant. I'm not saying it is, but that could be relevant to the Platonist argument.
Yeah.
It certainly is with regards to reality being divisible by this number of degrees before you get back to itself. And I obviously that is dependent upon having a what would you call, like a flat space, right? The two-dimensional space in which you'll manage has to be flat in order for that to be true. So I guess if you really want to go down the anti-Platonist route, that's the weak point, right? Is you're assuming that the space that you're measuring the circle in itself is flat, in order to have this particular argument. And is space flat in reality? Maybe not. So, and certainly not in a gravitational field. So I guess that would be the argument against it.
Not to jump off this riveting subject, but I think there is someone in here that mentioned I said the pendulum wave the other day. Was that Ella that jumped in and said sometimes it makes the double helix? Because I was saying it makes the double helix, and someone else jumped in and said sometime. I want to make sure that we're not mixing the pendulum wave, which is hanging pendulums, with the what's the one that sits on the ground and swings back and forward, that they get in a synchronization. That's different. But the pendulum wave, which when you get like the 15 pendulum drop, it's not sometimes. It is every time they eventually get to the double helix form. You can look.
Sometimes it's a single helix.
No. Look at a video on if you got the 14 or 15 of these pendulums, when they start to swing, follow it through their whole thing. You will always, at some point, you'll get a triple, a single, and a double that you'll it'll form.
Eventually. Yeah.
Okay, well, there's another.
But it doesn't always start at the double helix.
No, it doesn't start at it.
With a single, a double, and a triple. Yes.
Yeah, so that's another argument for Platonism, right? Okay, look, we're going to end it there. I think we've actually, I think Plato would be proud of us. I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure.
And if he would hear, he would say something like, he'd say something in Greek, which it's all Greek. So I'm just going to say what he would say in English, and I'm sure it's Greek.
Hey, Simon, Here's you a better one. If you're going to do this kind of argument next time, why don't you do Socrates' chicken? Okay, that a man is a bald chicken. All right, we'll do that argument next.
Yeah. Well, no,
wasn't that Socrates'?
No, there's a better one, which is Gilbert and Sullivan, who are used to do British writers for musicals, and the line from one of their plays is something like. Although well behaved, man is just a monkey shaved.
Okay.
So I quite like that. I've always liked that as a phrase. But anyway, I don't know. I think well, we can go around our conclusions. So let's do that. Headless, if you're there, please.
Thank you for tuning in today to this evening's episode of Arguing with Fabio.
That's what we do best. We do best. That's what makes our Formula One show so interesting. Elle, over to you.
I guess I'm just still like waiting for like some grand benediction to come out of this, but okay, cool. This has been entertaining. Thank you.
Benno what?
Some benediction, something that we're told to bring forth with us into the world.
Okay, you're just waiting for some. Yeah. Okay. Benediction. Yes. Got you.
From Platonism, either from Plato himself or But
I mean, we haven't done justice to it, to be fair. And the Plato's Cave is an interesting thought experiment. There's no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
I think there's more to be said on the subject than we've done. I think we've tried to pin it back to mathematics.
Was it Plato's Cave? Were you talking about the lights in the background, the shadows?
Is it?
Okay, maybe it's Plato or it's Aristotle. Honestly, it's been forever since I read any of that.
Now you're going to make me go check it.
I don't know. The cave is well, I'm pretty sure it's Platonism. I don't know that it is actually Plato. Now that I'm thinking about it, it might be like one of those middle Platonists.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm looking that up. Over to you, Skeptic. I mean, you've only just
much about Platonism.
Yeah, I just got to come into this.
It's like the one thing.
But what would you say? What would you say? A, about Platonism, and B, maybe you could just expand on what your actual position is. Hang on a sec before I say that. John says a lot of talk about usefulness, but Fabio can fix a microphone. I avoid the point to the Italian. Yeah, I think there may be some bias going on there, John.
It's not some bias. I'm not using any Platonic object to fix a bloody motorcycle. That's for sure.
Okay.
I haven't read the forms from Plato, so I would rather not speak too much on the subject, because though I've read a bit of the older philosophers, the section of what is it? Is it in Meno? Or what is it in that he does the his forms hypothesis that he puts forward? Anyway, I haven't read it. I've skimmed through little parts on it
or another.
With other stuff, but I'd rather not greatly speak on the subject until I've read Plato's forms, because I think that's probably most relevant to this subject is Plato's actual position on forms.
I'm probably the least knowledgeable person here on the subject.
I know a little bit about it, but I haven't read it in of itself, his writings on the subject, so I don't know a ton about the position. So that's I hate to not commit anymore to that, but I like to read people's original work before I try to
Dialogues. I've just looked it up. Dialogues is the book.
It's in Dialogues.
Okay. And and what is your actual position? Do you have a position on say, what's your view of mathematics? And it's grounding. I
tend to think that it is something that works, and evolution tends to constantly find things that work. And even conceptually, we create conceptual concepts and frameworks in our brain that works. And we say, well, this reaches X result, it can represent reality. And then we use that model. So when you take spiders, for example, and Dawkins got into this some, and the spider has kind of genetic memory of how to build a specific web. That spider builds that web, and that web works. It catches flies. Does it logically know that web will work? It doesn't logically know that web will work. It knows it because that has been built into its genetic memory, because that's something that has worked evolutionarily. that it is made that shape, and that's an operational shape. So you could say in some sense that it knows that shape will work. I hate to use that word because it doesn't meet the JTB model of knows, but there is something inside of the head that is genetically built that gives it the predisposition. No, this web will 100% work, and it will 100% work. And so will mathematics. And I think to some degree, we have had an evolved brain that has evolved around a construct that will work, and it represents reality. It pretty much represents reality functionally. So the concepts of mathematics is just something that came about in the aggregate of what works, in the same way that the spider web works, that cocoons work, that different models that other animals use, they work.
Right. So I guess that's some kind of utilitarian philosophy, would you say?
I don't know that it's a philosophy as much as it is leaning fairly heavy on the constructs of evolution. It's it is evolutionarily compact pragmatism, that it worked, so that's what got built into the model. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Let me just correct myself as well. So it's saying also key dialogues where the theory of forms appears: the Republic, especially books 5 to 7, Phaedo, Symposium, Parmenides, Timus, and Meno. Knowledge. So I guess those are from virtual dialogues of metaphysics. I don't know. Okay, so it looks like he talks about it a lot. That's that.
I'd love if you could share that link though that I put on there about the Aristotle's wheel. That I think it has some relevance to the. I put it on the thing.
I will. You will find that in copy. Somebody put it in the chat, didn't they already?
Oh, I put it in the side chat in our conversation.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Not in
Fabio,
the.
could you stick it into the general chat for me?
Yes.
From the private chat.
Already did it.
There you go.
Okay, thank you. And if you could put the title in there as well,
Thank
please,
you,
Ellen. And I will make sure it goes into the description in the video. So anybody rewatching this that hasn't got side chat, you can always pick that up in the description of the video. Thank you so much for that, Skeptic. I really appreciate that. We're gonna go out on Fabio, of course. Why not? Why wouldn't we? So just to say, I don't think I've been refuted, and I don't think Plato's been refuted. I think 1-0 to all of you. In fact, I do think Plato has been refuted by Serb's anti-God argument. So I think if you're looking for a grounding of a grounding, then Plato doesn't work. But as an explanation as to why, to posit that there is some mind-independent sort of reality where abstract objects exist, at least is an attempt at an explanation to generate why the small amount of mathematical landscape which does apply to reality, at least it gives an explanation as to why that is the case, that some does apply to reality, even if it's an inadequate explanation. And I think for that reason, it's been heavily leaned on in the past, certainly pre-medieval. And I think that's quite important because it gave groundings for other things such as morality and ethics, which before, I don't know, I guess before Spinoza, nobody had any idea of how to ground, or at least not a ground necessarily, but nobody had any idea of a system which was at least coherent. And that's quite important, I think, as well. So I think it's, even if we say, and I certainly I don't agree with Platonism per se, but even if we don't agree with it, at least it could be recognized as the utility and the pragmatism of Platonism in a time where, coherent logical systems for such things as mathematics and, let's not say mathematics, let's say arithmetic and ethics and maybe some other systems that humans rely on law, maybe. At least these things had some weight behind them, more than just the argument which is always given by theists to atheists, which is everything is just arbitrary, and if it's arbitrary, it doesn't mean anything. So at least that is some kind of explanation against that, even if it's not one which I agree with personally. So I think that for me, that's the key takeaway is that at least it has some pragmatic usages, and for that, at least we have to be thankful in times when we didn't have coherent systems. Before I pass it over to you, I just want to read out John's thing because I don't know what he said here. Only if you never actually apply that pretend knowledge your Platonic form provides you for. Never apply it, and it works fine. Yeah, I think very much like the Copenhagen interpretation, you can just shut up and use mathematics, and that's fine. But I don't think that was the goal of Plato, even back then. I think he was looking for something more substantial. And yeah, there we go. I think that gives you at least some explanation of the usages. Okay, over to you, Fabio, to take us out. And we know we like to end on a bang, so I've got my finger on the button for you.
Yeah, so we started this whole conversation with me prepping the sauce, and I was trying to extract the essence from the tomatoes. And much like this conversation, in order to do that, it requires a lot of chaos. Nominally, I mean, for my sauce, it requires heat, and in here it requires a lot of words. The only difference, I would say, that in the case of the sauce, I'm actually able to extract some kind of essence. It's actually working right now. I checked it a few minutes ago. The main problem with this conversation, in my opinion, is that we were trying to extract some pretend forms, and we will never get to the gist of it because I don't see we have distilled any essence with all the chaos that we made.
Oh, okay, thank you. I was typing away there. I missed it. Could you just watch something about cows? You said something about cows.
Yeah, cows. The essence of the cows. Yes.
Okay, yeah. Essence of the cows. Yeah. That's nothing against me personally, is it?
I don't know.